Um, quickly, I'm Jill Nilsson. I graduated in mining engineering in 1982. Spent 25 years in the industry working in both mining and the waste industry in a variety of roles, from environmental to construction management to did everything but engineering. And I was actually working for the college, and one of the people on the advisory board for the mining department tapped me on the shoulder and says, "You want to do recruiting?" And I'm like, well, professional matchmaking, that's pretty cool. So I gave it a shot. So what I want to do today is, this is from Brooks and Nelson's perspective. We are recruiters that are hired by companies, so are independent, that work to help find the right talent. So, okay. I don't know if everyone's muted, but we'll get into this now. So, first thing that we do is we try to find, as executive recruiters, we try to find ideal candidates for our clients. We work in a small industry, mainly mining, and it's totally recognized that some of our candidates can become clients at some point down the future. So we also take great care to work with the candidates. But at the end of the day, our bills are paid by the clients. So what does that look like? Here we go. People come to us when they have jobs they can't readily fill themselves, right? So they're looking for, we call them purple squirrels, Superman, Superwoman. But that's the deal. The ideal part comes in that we aren't finding perfect candidates, but we're finding people that are suited both for the technical or the skill sets, as well as matching the culture of the companies. We call this active recruiting versus passive. Passive recruiting is putting ads on job boards, which is certainly a good step to do, but we are knocking on people's doors versus letting them come through us. We're going out to the various candidates that we looked at. So if you're not visible on LinkedIn, there's a good chance we might overlook you. Is that our only tool? No, we use a lot of networks. But the question here for you, the takeaways for you folks is, are you visible? And it simply, if you're happy with your job, it simply never hurts to consider your options. You want to get to know a recruiter before you need one. So let's get a little bit more into this active and passive part. You know, it's going out and finding people that we think have the right skills, sending them an email, giving them a phone call, connecting with them on LinkedIn. We are promoting, we're telling the story of our clients. And we do that well. We usually do it better than they can because they're very busy people. We tell the story and we listen a lot. We listen to what people are missing in their own careers. Passive means, you know, you're looking at job boards, you're promoting a certain, you know, you just do the in and out and not so much the cultural match. And a lot of times passive recruiting is just based on vacancies. Oh, you got a vacancy, we can help you, we've got the right candidate. That is not what we do, but you know, some recruiters do it that way. So let's move on. When we talk with candidates, we're trying to find out what they like doing, what they struggle with, and what kind of work culture and management style they thrive in. So to make an ideal match, the candidate needs to have the skill set or the ability to grow, but it also includes matching candidates to compatible cultures of a company. If you don't like an authoritarian kind of climate, we're going to try not to put you into that. So let's go through a top 10 list of what executive recruiters are looking for when they talk to candidates. So this, you know, if you're thinking about making a move or whatever, let's go for the first thing. First thing is, we want to know if you've done your research. Have you looked at the company? Have you looked at the position description? This is a huge sign to recruiters. A lot of times we contact people and they're like, well, I haven't really had a chance. And it's a turnoff, right? So you need to have good questions to ask immediately. And that helps us set the stage in how genuinely interested a client is or a candidate is for a job. Last thing we want to do is put someone who's kind of half-hearted into the client. They spend the time of interviewing them and they kind of say, well, you know, I'm not just ready to make that change yet. So First things first, do your research. Second point is what does your resume look like? There's lots of ways to do this. Personally, I like accomplishment-based and chronological. We often confuse that we put down our responsibilities, but not what we've accomplished within our jobs. And we've got some templates, and we do help our candidates do the work themselves. I have been doing this long enough that I can tell if you've had your resume professionally prepared. And to me, that's a turnoff. It needs to be your own work document, and you need to take time and do it. Most of us absolutely, so it's worse than going to the dentist, right? To create your own resume, but it's absolutely vital because it is that hard fact documentation that goes right on to the client. So conciseness is good, but if you're a person with 20 or 30 years experience and you have one pager, there's something wrong there. Don't think about page limitations. And I know a lot of people come up to us and say, oh, I was told to put it into 1 or 2 pages. Be concise and brief and take the space you need to take to tell your story. So that's the second point, what we're looking at. Then what we want to know is where you're at. What's your current salary? This is a hairy topic these days with diversity and inclusion and underpaid candidates coming in. So it's a tough topic to do, and we skirt around it. But do we want to know? Absolutely. What our point is really are you overcompensated? Because if you're 20% over the job, would you really take a lesser salary for a better opportunity? So that's our first goal in trying to find out where indiscretionally where our current candidates are being, what their compensation looks like. Maybe you're working for a small company, a junior that doesn't have the money. Don't be afraid of where you're at. But the next point is know where you want to be. So what is your compensation expectation? Most people don't want to take a new job for a lateral, either in responsibility or compensation. So that's fair. And we try to talk to about it. We're kind of the middleman. So our client will say, we can only pay this much, and we've got a perfect candidate that really fits a lot of the bills, and he or she is making more. So we play devil's advocate. Dear candidate, would you take less for this job? Dear client, would you pay more for someone who's a superstar coming in? So that's where we're at in that piece of the puzzle. So know what you want going into it, and $1 million probably won't work. The other thing we want to know is, do you have any golden handcuffs? Do you have a bonus that you're eligible for? If so, when's the payout? Do you need to be still employed at that point in time, especially at the turn of the year, right? A lot of companies will pay out in May or March or April. Some people, you need to be in the seat. Some people you can leave on January 1st for a new opportunity, but it just really goes. Do you have a payback obligation on a relocation package? We don't like surprises after submitting a candidate to our clients and to say, oh, by the way, it's going to take me $50,000 to make a move. We want to understand where you're at and how open you are to considering leaving future earnings on the table for a new opportunity. If you're not, you're not, but we want to know. Then the next question is, why did you leave your last job? Difficult times. When I grew up, I went to work for Shell. Everybody worked there for 30 years. And then our part of the company got sold. So these days, it is much different. Candidates aren't expected to remain into long-term employment, but there's still legitimate concerns about people who switch jobs too often. So be willing to share that rationale when you do make those moves and have a good one. The next point is, if you have a job, and again, we're doing active recruiting, right? So we're going to people that have good jobs and say, what's it going to take for you to take a new job? And we listen to their stories. We listen to their talks, because eventually they'll say, I love this, I love that, I do this, but So we're listening to the buts. What are those problems with the current job? What existing habits do they have if they've been there for a long time? So why would they be attracted to a new job? You need to have a good rationale behind that. And having your partner who supports your career dreams is huge too, because often people stay in a job because they like a particular location or facet, or it's not a good family decision, right? So we understand there's anxieties and uncertainties regarding change in your career, which can be a stabilizing force in your life, but be ready to discuss those and know where you're at. Then there's a question is, will you move? Are you open to relocate? Under what conditions? Especially now with COVID, many people want remote positions, but employers still want people at a job site or work site to fully understand the conditions and to work with the people. COVID, I think, will be a big switch in remote work environments, but still having flexibility that your client wants is highly valued. And then, what contingencies do you come with? For you to take a different position, what does that look like? Do you have a home and a place that's hard to sell? We come across this all the time. Is there a dual career situation that may not allow your spouse to move? And always kiddos. Are the children, a priority in maintaining a consistent schooling and friends? Some people want their children to see different opportunities. Others want them to stay in the same environment that they are in. So be upfront about this and let us know. We do keep notes for other opportunities, if not the one that we're presenting you. But again, we simply don't like surprises. Then the next one, we're kind of getting to the end quickly here, is there are compliance issues. As outside recruiters, we do not ask these questions. We're not legally allowed to, but most all of our clients perform background checks and drug testing. We work for very safety-focused clients. And so, for instance, we know Colorado is one of these states. There's issues around the legalization of marijuana, right? That's a state allowed. But when you're on the job site, there's still federal requirements under OSHA or MSHA that do not overdo that. So don't be surprised if you're asked if you can carry out the requirements expected. And again, we want the honesty, because if you can't, you can't, and maybe it takes some time. But again, it will come out in the laundry before it works. So we like to know upfront. So in a sense, those are our top 10 things to do. I could do a whole talk on resumes. I often do. Be happy to talk with any of you if you're looking at updating your resume. But what's really fun about the recruiting is the people we meet, right? The stories we hear, and working with great clients. Each person and each search is unique and interesting. So all in all, recruiting is one of the most satisfying career choices I've made. And you say, why a mining engineer turned recruiter? Because it's professional matchmaking. Doing this right and making a difference to our clients and their ability to succeed is huge. And essentially, that is my presentation for today. So let me see if I can stop sharing, unmute. I think everyone's unmuted already. What else do I need to do to stop sharing here?
You're good, Jill.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Any questions?
Not a question, Jill, but a comment and a compliment, actually, for the rest of you all out there. I have the pleasure of having utilized Jill's services for us to fill a position, and it has worked out fantastic. I don't know how long it's been, Jill, but we work with them daily, and it's been great.
Yeah. I can take 2 minutes. We started Brooks and Nelson. I started recruiting 12 years ago for a very large international recruiting house focused largely in mining and the natural resources. And we were Australian based. I learned a ton there, went to another company to try to start their staffing service to do more recruiting. I ended up, we didn't come to the ethic alignment that we wanted with the company. So my partner, Lois Brooks, who was years, her whole career has been in mining. She worked for international companies, and myself, we formed Brooks and Nelson in 2016. And I just saw on LinkedIn the other day, the very first placement we did, which was for someone I used to work with, that person's still there 4 years later. We are happily and very proud to say that we are now a certified woman-owned business. So what does that mean in mining? It means we walk the talk because we also do a lot of diversity and inclusion training. So thank you for letting me do a shameless promotion there. But thank you, Sashi, for the kind words. Questions?
Jill, there was a question that came in from James. He said that, did I hear you say professionally written resumes are frowned upon and to take your time doing it yourself?
And this is, what I love about these kind of presentations is I am a very opinionated recruiter. And you will see all sorts of different, whatever sort of response you want about recruiting, you'll find. Personally, I can tell professionally written resumes. They lack a sincerity and a passion that we're looking for in our clients. And again, we're looking for ideal matches to our cultures. They tend to devoid what you've done of your culture. It doesn't say it in your own words. So I'm not a fan of them. I think that I've been doing this long enough and I've looked at thousands of resumes that I can usually spot them. So I think it's important to take the time, and not to say that you can't get coaching to do that. And I have a template of another grad from South Dakota that's probably one of the best resumes I've seen because it's responsibility and accomplishment based on a chronological deal. But what we'll do is we'll work with you. We'll take your resume and typically people that we hope to place someday. So I'm not looking to get 50 resumes here, but we will tell people, we'll listen to their story and we'll say, on your resume, you don't have this, this, and this, and you told us all this, and it should be in there. So that's how you can get professional help, but it's still your own writing and your own words. Does that make sense?
I think so. And then we had another question came in from Andrea, as she says, do recruiters help people change job industries? If so, what's the best way to change industries? For example, I'm in education, but would like to get into safety.
Another good question is, do we help people change? Absolutely, we're change agents. And I think certainly in talking with the industry I know best, mining, is especially, we do have some of it, but it takes the right company to be able to accommodate that switch. Because some people want the diversity of thought and inclusiveness. And so the companies that do that well will be ones that will tend to say, we can learn more if we take someone outside our industry to broaden our perspectives and our solutions, right? So how do you do that? You need to be persistent. You need to use your networks, connect with recruiters and people in the industry. If you're an educator going into safety, try to find out which alumni, talk to Sarah and see which alumni work in the safety fields or which ones make our recruiters.
I think I might have saw a hand. Bruce, did you have a question? Oh, you're muted. Yep.
I'm sorry, I did have a question, but I sent it to Jill directly. So I don't know if she can read that, or Sarah, if you can read that.
I can. If someone's looking to switch jobs, to get a LinkedIn account first. Yes, LinkedIn gets a lot of bad raps, but it is a recruiter's playing field. First and foremost, as recruiters ourselves, when we are hired by a client, we try to present a variety of candidates. And so we're looking at LinkedIn, and LinkedIn do sophisticated Boolean searches and find all those, you know, those keywords that they're looking for. We use LinkedIn as well as our networks. So visibility is always good. And there's just absolutely no reason not to have a LinkedIn account. It's a lot of fun. It's how I connect with a lot of my alum friends and people that I used to work with as well.
Right, yeah, it does tend to get political at times, but yeah, if you can work through the chaff, it's actually pretty good.
10 times better than Facebook
Oh,
as far as the political part, right?
Yeah.
So, but we use a variety of methods for that, but LinkedIn is huge.
Yep.
I'd like to give a shameless plug because speaking of LinkedIn, the career service office is doing a LinkedIn, building your LinkedIn presence workshop over Zoom on February 10th at 5 p.m. and alumni are welcome to join. It's not, you don't have to register ahead of time. So you just click the link and I will put the link in the chat for everyone to see. So you guys can have it if you guys want to mark your calendars. I'll do that right now.
Perfect. Any other questions?
I have a couple. Bob Meeson. I don't know your total direction you're going here as far as what you can do for the school. I'd like to ask two questions. Is number one, would you be able to help the school hire people to do recruiting in high schools?
We believe we are good recruiters and we can do pretty much anything we put our mind to it. We specialize in mining. We have networks. We tend to work primarily in the US and Canada. Half our jobs are in Canada at any one time. We tend to work worldwide in mining. I have worked with a couple of colleges in different capacities. One was the University of Arizona in particular, before COVID, was looking to do a department head. And we didn't do the full-on search, but we gave them things to think about to do differently. Done a little bit of work, both with South Coast School of Mines and Colorado School of Mines, in helping them look at how they recruit students, particularly in the mining departments. So can we? Sure. High school level it's not so much full-on recruiting as we're used to, it's building relationships with certain key schools that have good STEM students coming out, right? Could we help them find a recruiter that could do that? Sure.
Good.
Bob, and
Good.
that's a good question and also a good suggestion that you bring up. So in my mind, I have ideas on how to potentially also find alumni recruiters to help do what you did.
The reason I brought that question up is I see us as very, very weak in management of recruiting high school graduates.
Yeah.
Our college is very weak there. And part of it, I'm not blaming anybody, but we lost people because of the virus. I mean, that had to be done. But we're now, I'm hoping we're getting back to a rebuilding position. And to rebuild, we need to get the type of people. I don't care. I agree with Jill, I think what she said is you can have any kind of degree and be a recruiter. But there's a difference there. That person that's a recruiter has got to be able to figure out the brain power in that person they're looking at.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bob. Is our company in particular, I am not an HR professional. my partner was. She came off of a big HR for an international mining company. And I believe it's very important. Recruiters need to understand the laws and the regulations.
Yeah.
We deeply understand diversity and inclusiveness, but we're matching, and we're different kind. We are not zip recruiters. We're not some of these other platforms. We are matching cultures and people, which is almost a bigger situation than the technical skills. Almost, not completely. Someone asked, what's the price range for a recruiter? Depends upon what industry you're in. In our industry, in our method is extremely, Brooks and Nelson is pursuing a challenging model. We are exclusive retained recruiters. So we are the exception, not the rule. There is many different kinds of recruiting, just like there's many different kinds of cars. I believe you get what you pay for. We don't charge anymore. It's usually a percentage of the first year's salary. And it's negotiated and there's a contract and it's legal and it's binding. We, however, say, if you want to use 3 of our companies at the same time to help you fill the same role, we're not interested. Because what we want to do is understand the company's culture. And often what we're doing is we're going and telling their story and creating an excitement about working for that company X instead of where you're at now. And we can't do that. I mean, we try to be quick. It's in our best financial interest to be quick, but we do that carefully because not everybody that puts their hand up will be a good match, right? So, but there are contingency recruiters that will say, I need a electrical engineer. Pew, 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 pew. Here's the resumes, and Bob Smith came in 3 times, and first one in gets paid, the other 2 get nothing. We don't play that game, but there's plenty of them that do, right? So.
I like what you just said, because my experience in the business world was very similar to what you just mentioned. And the company, this large company I worked for, required me to have my own individual that did our recruiting. So I had an individual working for me for 15 years that was very similar to what you talked, very similar to what you're just talking now. So my point is, would you like to work for the School of Mines? Or not? No, I mean, I don't know if you're trying to enlarge the company or if it's too far away, or I don't know how much you want to expand. But I see it. I think it's very similar to what you're doing. Whether it's recruiting people for high school, college, or a job. I mean, or from a CEO on down. It's all the same.
It
pretty
is.
much. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Not totally, but.
And Ken's going to be quiet here, right, Ken? You could say something right now, so.
Okay, yeah, I don't know all these people, what they do. So. What does Ken do?
There he goes.
I'm being quiet on this, and the fact that I'm leading the effort for the Center for Alumni Relations and Advancement in searching for a new CEO. And Jill is my expert advisor on this moving forward. And so I couldn't help but be excited when I saw this presentation be available and help us along the way.
Yeah. What do you mean by CEO?
That's we are changing the name from president to CEO.
Oh, okay. So we're not looking for a replacement for Rankin.
No, this is for the merged organizations of the old Alumni Association and old Foundation.
And the entire foundation. Okay. Okay.
Which I've become very comfortable in just referring to Kara, but most people wouldn't have any idea what I'm talking about if I say.
Well, the same thing applies there, doesn't it? If you're going to strengthen the foundation, what type of people do you want?
Well, we've got got a list of 10 characteristics that we're looking at, and we have provided detail in our job description for what that person needs to be. And there's just a host of things. It's Sharon here is our interim president, and she has brought great expertise in establishing newer processes for the development of donors, and work to combine the work of the Alumni Association hand in hand with the former foundation only employees. And we're looking for a collaborator, a go-getter, a salesman, someone that can lead by example. Got a host of characteristics there that we're looking for.
Well, would you consider having somebody help us get that individual rather than just within the foundation people?
We started down that road last spring, and I just went through this process being a board member of the now the Wyoming Energy Authority. The Wyoming legislature approved the board members, 7 board members last at the end of February. And we went through a process that we did a national search and had 38 applicants. And we brought 5 applicants in for personal interviews into Casper in June. And on July 1st, we stood the new organization up. A merger, which incidentally was the same day that the Alumni Association and the foundation merged. July 1st was a lot of fun for me. Had a new executive director in place on July 1st. Now, what we have built into our schedule is if we're not satisfied with the number and quality of candidates, we can go seek outside help in pushing this forward.
Let me ask you a question. How would you rate the foundation recruiting in the last 20 years?
For all positions?
For the head person in the foundation recruiting department?
Well,
That's
I
a
don't
loaded
know.
question, Bob.
Huh?
That's
Huh?
a loaded question.
Well, no, it's a one we got to look at. I'm not trying to be, and you're more probably qualified than anybody we've talked to yet.
Bob, if I can, I have talked, I worked for the foundation once upon a time, right before I started recruiting.
Did
And
you? Okay.
I did. You remember I called
Yeah.
on down in
Yeah,
Houston.
yeah.
I think they are doing, Ken and his committee are doing a really good job. And they had looked at using an outside recruiter. And I fully agree that they've done their homework. They've created a very good position description, have thoughtful questions. If they can attract, my concern is where do you attract good candidates? And I can get snobby and say executive recruiters go more than this, the low hanging fruit, but I think they could be successful. It's got a good reputation, and I think they got a plan B if they're not.
Well, but I see, I'm really enjoying your conversation and what you're doing. And I see a need for us to use somebody like you that knows the school and understands people the way you're presenting it. I see a big need there. I see it in recruiting high school. I see it in recruiting for the foundation. I see it recruiting for presidents. I see it all over the place. I see our little school is not advancing with the clientele that's out there in the world. That we're not advancing very much. We're not keeping up. So I don't mean to make a.
Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
I can hear you, Pilar.
I don't mean to
sorry,
make-
Bob. Thanks. I think there is some good points that Bob brings up. I wanted to maybe ask a couple other questions. First, I want to thanks for a well put together presentation. I really enjoyed it. I think we need more of this, so to the extent you can repeat it, maybe twice a year, that we would appreciate it. Also from a Kara standpoint. I think I also appreciate some of the efforts you provided in the search and to the search committee for the new Kara CEO. So I think that's by the board and by the members. But I had a different question, which is related to the fact that maybe some of us, maybe in mid-career, some of us are starting new careers, and some maybe at the end of their careers. And so given that kind of dimensions, you may work with different recruiters. And the question I have for you is, how does one go about selecting a recruiter that would be a good match to advertise, so to speak, your skills? But then also, how do you may not be looking for an opportunity, but how do you develop those relationships over the years and keep them warm and cordial? Can you talk a little bit about that, being that you've been in the industry for a long time?
Yeah, I definitely can, because, and I will say this bluntly because I'm an engineer, is we work for our clients. We do not work for candidates.
Yeah.
Being that said, is part of what I mentioned is we try to be different, and we work in a niche industry, in the mining industry, which seems plenty big enough to us on any given day. We realize that our candidates, if they have a good experience in working with us, even if they're not selected for the job, often they become our clients later on, right? Because they remember that. So I would say try to find the recruiters in your industry, and we'll get back to Bob's point a little bit on the academia world. Try to find recruiters in your industry and network. So when a recruiter contacts you for something that isn't appropriate, make the time, answer the response. We have certain jobs, and I can almost tell you is sometimes, and engineers are the worst. We'll have a mining engineering job wherever, and we can send out 50 emails. We'll get responses from 3 or 4. And sometimes they'll just go decline. And worse yet, they'll go on LinkedIn and say, I don't accept responses. Really? I understand that there's a lot of us out there and we're pesty and this and that too, but it's like, think about establishing networks. And I wish I would have had more of that as a young engineer coming out. It's all about the people you know in life. It's not about what patent you get or solution. It is about the teams you play with and the people you have in your networks. So establish those. I mean, that's kind of fuzzy talk. It wasn't very clear for you, but some things you can do, and I don't know what industry you're in, say connect with me. I'm connected to, I have a huge LinkedIn account, right? I have thousands of people, right? Because I've been doing this for 12 years. But the other thing, Bob, in all respect is, and I know this is what the foundation did, there is academic recruiters, and that's what they do for a living. And they know all the PhD people here and there, and they do their databases on this and that. And it's quite different than what we do. We have the same databases on women and men board members in US and Canadian mining companies. We've got a database of 1,700 companies, that we hire students to handle for us. But, there are niche industries. Some people do engineers, some people do accountants. We do an industry instead. So we do accountants and engineers within that industry. And we pull out from inside. We pull from the outside to bring in when we can. So just a little explanation on, we're a recruiter. The person that said about high tech, can't do it in the Bay Area. I can't talk your talk. I don't know what all those initials mean. I can't represent you well.
Any other questions for Jill or comments?
Hi, I had a question, Alan Kennedy. BS EE, 1980, so a little behind Rankin. I was curious, the types of people that I talk to that have trouble finding jobs typically are the retired people that have worked 30 years and then they want to get back into the industry, are people that are just starting out, like my children, where they completed college, but trying to find the first jobs and building up a career from there. I was wondering if you could offer any advice for those two groups.
Sure. As recruiters, people want the mid-range, which there just isn't enough talent, right? I do see a turn that, so we work typically for junior and intermediate size companies within. Why? Because as Bob Neeson said is, when he worked for a big company, he had his own person, right? So the big companies don't need us. The other thing is we have ethics. We can't take from where we place. So if we work for a big company, we can't take any of their people. We may put 3 people in there, we can't take out of them. That's our ethics. So what I'm seeing though is those juniors and mid-tier companies within whatever your line of expertise is are looking more for the, there's COVID's been tough on companies. They've got to save money. And there is a turn towards people that can come in, especially if you can label yourself as a good mentor to those younger people. We're seeing a lot more desire for that high experience level that will come in and coach up, because people have to coach up. There's no gap, right? I mean, those of you that are 15 to 25 years out, there's not enough of you, right? In any industry, it's just a lack of engineers. So if you can coach up those younger ones, I'm less qualified to say because we usually work about 5 years out of school on up. But I know as being in the advisory board for South Dakota School of Mines, mining engineering, I'm now in Colorado School of Mines advisory board. I am always referring young talent to good big companies because it's a favor back to the industry.
Okay, thank you.
Long answer. I'm a recruiter, I can talk all day. Anything else? All right, thank you. It's been fun.
Sarah, we just have a few more minutes. Is it okay if we go around and just introduce, people introduce themselves? And if you can introduce yourself and what major and year you graduated, or what your affiliation you are with School of Mines, if you're not a graduate, and then what city you are in. Brian, you want to go first, and then Sashi?
Yes, Jill and I walked across the stage together nearly 39 years ago.
Oh, I did.
May of 1982, or I graduated with a bachelor's in geological engineering. I spent my entire career in the petroleum and natural gas business, first with Amoco Production Company, and then after BP acquired Amoco in the late 90s, I finished up with them. 10 years in the US, 18 years overseas. I've been out of the workforce now a bit more than 10 years.
Perfect.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Sashi?
Hi, this is Sashi, 1993 mining engineering, and had the unique opportunity to come back to School of Mines. Did run the mining engineering and management program for about 9-10 years. Good to see one of my students up there. Hi, Sterling.
Hi, Sterling.
Living in France right now. But I work for an international company dealing with explosive emulsifiers, dealing in about 32 countries. I've been regularly traveling. Unfortunately, since last March, I've been grounded, but thanks to technology, we're trying to manage it. But I've had this interesting opportunity to be in the industry for a while and then come back to school and be a department head, did the recruiting and bringing in the kids that Bob was talking about. And it's been interesting and a lot of interfacing. Great to see one of my old professors. Hi, Scott, and Lynn, our supporters in the group, and Ken, and all these people. It's been a blessing, and glad to make contact again.
We're so glad that you were able to join us today.
No worries at all.
Fanar and then Wayne.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Bernard Sefa, CAMI 2008. I live in Houston. I'm the commercial director for feedstocks and energy for a mid-sized company called Olin Corporation. And I'm also affiliated as I'm part of the board of directors for Kara. Thank you.
Nice.
This is Wayne Mills. I graduated mechanical in '89. Spent my entire career, just recently retired in diesel engines for John Deere. And also have been a member of the mechanical engineering IAB as well for the last few years. So just trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up now that I'm retired. Retired a bit early due to the restructure of the company. But looking forward to the future, and we'll see what it comes out of it.
Thanks, Wayne, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Ken and then Liz.
Ken Miller, Civil 75, mining forever. Retired from the full-time corporate world in 14. And I'm finishing my 12th and final year with the Kara board, formerly Foundation board. And that's kept me plugged in with the activities at the university.
I'm Elizabeth Seiler. I graduated with an IS in '93. Took a totally different path as a School of Mines grad and I've actually spent the last 20 plus years in the development world, currently part of the development team at Kara.
Thanks, Ken and Liz. Alan and Sterling.
Yeah, 1 second. There, I got it muted. Alan Kennedy, BSEE, 1980. 30 years in aerospace, defense industries, Boeing, companies like that. Retired now and living in Clarkston, Michigan, outside of Detroit.
Oh, got it.
Wow.
I hope to be coming home for my father's 90th birthday in Rapid City that happens in June.
Nice.
How about now? Okay.
There you
Sterling Ziegler, mining engineering, 2012, under Sashi's reign. And then I work for NAX at a global explosives company. Went through some engineering positions in the US and then moved into operations management, actually buying products from the company Sashi sells products for. And now I've moved to Paris with the company in research and development and customer support within R&D.
You've run like an Airbnb for School of Mines alum that want to visit Paris.
This background you see is my entire apartment.
Got it.
So there are many Airbnbs here that have had very low utilization this year. So you could find some good prices in Paris at the moment if you can get in the country.
There you go. Scott and then Terry Rasmussen.
Hello. I am CE 77 and 79, bachelor's and master's. Worked 12 years in private practice, went back to school at the University of Florida, get my PhD, and joined the School of Mines faculty in '93, retiring last June. Last 5 years, I was department head for the Civil Environmental Engineering Department. I'm on the Kara board, working on the real estate committee, and also working with the department on development and looking at funds. You know, Bob's question I thought was pretty interesting because it's sort of a catch. I learned how much or how important the development and the foundation is for us to grow, for us to develop. And, you know, the civil department was a recipient of one of the largest gifts the foundation has received, and that is so tremendous. We're redoing all the labs. So this recruitment, getting the best people we can, requires a financial foundation to also recruit students. It is a cycle, and a really important one that continues to be, require hard work. And I want to put kudos out for Sharon. She has been doing an amazing job in this interim period. Thanks, Sharon.
Scott, I'll pay you later. Thank you. Terry, and then Daniel.
Terry Rasmussen, let's see, I graduated metallurgy in 91 and spent pretty much all of that in the steel industry. I worked for Nucor Steel in Norfolk, Nebraska, and been kind of throughout this division in a lot of different capacities. When I was in QA, I found that there was a need for engineers, metallurgists in particular, in Nucor, and I had a hard time getting people to move to Norfolk, Nebraska. So I got deeply involved in recruiting and helped set up our corporate program for recruiting at various engineering colleges, most of which have metallurgy. And that's been very successful. And I guess what I'd really love to do from here, or at some point, maybe this is a retirement job, is to work one-on-one with students and help them understand and grow before they get out of college, and be really what the industry needs when they get out there. And I know the school does a great job of that, but I think as industry professionals, I think we can help them a little bit more. And anyhow, that's a dream job. Nobody wants to pay me for it yet, so I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
Daniel Minders, BSME from 2003. Currently, over the last 16 years, been working for a large global oil field service company out of Houston, Texas. Have different roles in operations, engineering, sales, product line management. Last 4 years, been heavily involved in new product development and R&D. Appreciate your insight, Jill, today on learning the abilities and steps necessary to engage with recruiters, and looking forward to this upcoming summer, the 5-year class reunion, to perhaps meet some of you face to face if that is possible. And as you mentioned earlier, fostering and building networks. So I appreciate it today.
Bob, and then Shane.
Bob, you're muted.
Shane, why don't you go ahead while Bob is.
Sounds good. Shane Sweedlin, industrial engineer, class of 92. I've been with most of my career has been with Raven Industries. I've been with Raven for over 28 years. A variety of different roles, sales and marketing, applications engineering, product management, but been one of the engineering managers for the last 8 or 9 years. And I get the opportunity to come out to Rapid City about 5-6 times a year. We have an office in the research park there. We also have one up in Brookings with SDSU. So that's one of the things that I do with Raven is I work with those satellite offices and the internship programs and some collaboration and research efforts with the university. So it's a lot of fun. So, but it's been, yeah, today was real enjoyable. Thank you, Jill, for the presentation and information.
Perfect. Bob Meeson?
Yes, am I okay?
Yep.
Am I okay? Yeah, I'm CE in 1961. Spent 20 years with Ingersoll Rand Company, run a division for them, and then got into president of another company. And then I had my own company for 10 years. We did a lot of, we were in the oil and gas business. And as most of you know, it's up and down. It's a yo-yo type business. So we were always hiring people or laying off people, one of the two. But I was very lucky, learned that the company taught me how to do a lot of recruiting. So I've always been in recruiting. I was very interested in hearing Jill here today. And I like the idea of having somebody helping us at the school that knows the school. It's hard to bring in a guy from, say, New York State or California that knows and understands our little old school here and can help us do it. But it takes a person that understands selling, number one. And it's a management thing that I think we can improve on. I mean, I like what you're saying and doing, but it's just a process. So if there's anything I can do to help improve the school, I'm ready to do it. I've got some experience, and I like what Jill said today. Thank you very much, Jill, for bringing that to us. Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
And then I'm really going to mess up your name. Is it Enos? Ennis? Are you with Fanar?
I am Fanar's brother, but I'm not
okay.
Fanar.
Got it.
Yeah, he's a kicker.
Oh, got it. Okay, let's do you and then James.
Awesome. So yeah, my name is Enes Safa. I'm a mechanical engineer, graduate of 2020. So I'm now an alum of School of Mines. I am completing my master's in May 2021. I am also the founder of Vexy Robotics here at South Dakota Mines. And you know, as Bob mentioned, I used to be the kicker of South Dakota Mines. So I have had plenty of experiences, and I'm currently looking for a career that will challenge me to learn and continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. James and then Nathan.
Hey, I'm James Moyson. I'm a mechanical engineering grad from 2007. Started my work experience in the oil and gas sector in North Dakota, working for Scientific Drilling. As Bob had mentioned, the oil and gas sector has its ups and downs, which gave me an opportunity to pursue an MBA at the University of South Dakota. Finished that up and worked for Baker Hughes back in North Dakota, kind of as a field engineer for both Scientific and Scientific Drilling. Yeah, Baker Hughes and Scientific Drilling up in the Bakken until 2014 when I was scooped up by Apache Corporation, and I've been with them ever since as a senior drilling engineer. Worked out in West Texas and currently down in Suriname, South America, doing some discovery exploration work down there. So thanks for the presentation today. A lot of good insight on, you know, building your resume in a social platform.
This is Nathan Striley. Sorry I don't have video. I am a mechanical engineer. I graduated in 2017 from the School of Mines. I'm currently in R&D as a test engineer with Emerson through Fisher Valves in Marshalltown, Iowa. And I'm also pursuing my MBA part-time right now. Thanks again, Jill. This was really good, really informative for what you also look for from candidates. I'm more on that end. So, but this was very good, and it's very good to meet all you. Thanks.
And Amber, I don't know if you were on before, but we were just introducing ourselves, what our major is and what town we live in.
Hi, No, I was late. I had a little bit of computer trouble. So I have my bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering from School of Mines. I am currently in Cupertino, California, working at Apple.
Cool. Well, all my panels switched around. Did I miss anybody? Except for Sarah. And of course, Sarah is the glue that holds all of us together.
And I'm sorry, and because Jill got right into it, so I didn't get a chance to even introduce myself. So my name is Sarah Von Eye. I'm the interim alumni director here at CARA. And so thank you so much, Jill, for your presentation today. I really appreciate it. Amber, I know you're late getting in, but this has been recorded, so I will, we'll get it up to our YouTube channel and we'll get you the link so you can see it. And so yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Just so everyone knows, we're going to keep doing these monthly. I'll drop the next ones coming up for February and March. They're scheduled, they're ready to go. And then we're also going to be doing department updates once a month on the first Thursday of every month. And I know we have some mining people on here, but we're going to have Dr. Robert Hall do the first campus update on February 4th at 11. So I'll drop the links in there. Registration is required ahead of time, just so you guys know. But yeah, so I'm really excited to have those. It's going to be a great way for the departments to update you on what's going on, and hopefully show you guys some of the buildings, the labs, some cool things. So really excited about this. And then, yeah, join if you're interested about LinkedIn. Career Service Office is building a LinkedIn presence. So mark your calendars for that. And then mark your calendars for Reunion 2021. Hopefully, cross our fingers. Watch our websites, our communications. July 7th through 11th, we'll have that. So I really, really appreciate you all. Thank you.
Might mention that in May, we're doing one on M Hill improvements and upgrades.
Yes.
So it'd be great to have a good response to that.
And now they're probably wondering, Scott, why we want to renovate M Hill. So
yeah, we have we'll take you on a tour of M Hill, and it's looking kind of tough right now, but we have plans to improve it.
So
you recruiting money?
Well, money and in-kind support as well.
Okay.
And Scott's in charge of that project, so. Okay, we'll see you guys.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Thanks again.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Yeah, thank you, Jill.
Take care, people.